She checked in under a name that didn't exist, paid for a room she never planned to pay for. 3 days later, a security guard knocked on her door and heard a gunshot on the other side. When police finally got inside, the door was locked from the inside, and the woman they found had spent her last hours erasing every trace of who she was. 30 years later, nobody knows her name. Late spring 1995. The Oslo Plaza was the tallest hotel in the country. Glass, steel, 37 floors of quiet European luxury. The kind of place where nobody asks too many questions as long as the bill gets paid. At 10:44 on a Wednesday night, a woman walked up to the front desk. She was alone. Dark hair, cut short, blue eyes, dressed like money, but in a way that didn't quite explain who she was. She gave her name as Jennifer Fairgate. She'd misspell it twice before the night was over. No ID, no credit card, no address that would ever check out, just a name and a room number. A5. By the time anyone learned what really happened in that room, she'd already been gone 3 days. Here's what the hotel knew about her, which wasn't much. She told the front desk she was 21. The doctors who examined her later would put her closer to 30. She gave an address in a small town in Belgium. A real town, a real street, except nobody who ever lived there had heard of her. She said a man would be joining her. A man named Lois Fairgate. He never checked in. He was never seen. But somewhere in that room, a second blanket sat folded, waiting for somebody who never came. For 2 days, almost nothing happened. She came and went, ordered food once, tipped well, 5 times what was expected for a quiet woman nobody would remember if she hadn't ended up on the news. And then, she disappeared from the hotel for nearly a full day. 20 hours unaccounted for. Nobody knows where she went. Nobody knows who she met. She came back to the room like nothing happened. Saturday, June 3rd, 3 days after check-in, the hotel still had no payment on file. No credit card, no signature that meant anything. So a 25-year-old security guard named Espen Ness got sent up to the 28th floor. Nothing dramatic, just a knock on a door. A reminder that the bill was due. He knocked, and from inside the room, a gunshot, not loud, muffled almost, swallowed by thick walls and a heavy door. But unmistakable, Ness didn't open that door. He backed away, walked to the elevator, found his supervisor, and for the next 15 minutes, the room sat there, unwatched, unlocked by anyone outside. When the head of security finally came back up, knocked again, and got no answer. He used his master key. The door was double locked. From the inside, he opened it anyway, and there she was, lying across the bed. A gunshot wound to her forehead, a pistol resting in her hand. To the first officers on scene, it looked simple. It wasn't. Here's where it stops making sense. The gun in her hand, a Browning 9mm, had its serial number filed off. Every label had been cut out of her clothes. Not torn, cut. Carefully, like someone with time and a steady hand. No passport, no wallet, no keys. Nothing that could tell you who she was, but inside her suitcase, 34 rounds of ammunition. For a woman traveling alone with no luggage tags, no photographs, no name anyone could verify. And then the detail that still keeps investigators up at night. 2 shots had been fired, not one. The first bullet had passed clean through a pillow and buried itself in the floor. A test shot. Some say to see if the gun even worked or to muffle the sound of what came next. That same pillow was found turned over and placed beneath her head for the second shot. The one that killed her. Someone, maybe her, maybe not, had taken the time to set the scene, and there was no gunshot residue on her hand. No blood spatter where you'd expect it if she'd pulled that trigger herself. The math didn't add up to suicide, but it didn't add up to murder either, because the room was locked from the inside and there was nowhere for anyone else to go. Investigators built their best theory, a single shot, fired the moment the guard knocked. A woman who knew her stay, and maybe her story was about to end. The official ruling, suicide. 99.9% certain, police said, but certainty has a way of cracking when you look closer. Some investigators believe a second person was in that room, and slipped out in the 15 minutes the door sat unguarded. No camera caught a face. No witness saw anyone leave. But 15 unsupervised minutes is a long time, if you know what you're doing. Others looked at her dental work, gold and porcelain, the kind used in the United States, and a handful of countries in Western Europe, and wondered if she'd come from somewhere far more specific than a fake Belgian address. And then there's the timing nobody can explain. Away, 3 weeks after her death, just 3 weeks, a string of disappearances began in Belgium. Young women vanishing without a trace, the start of a case that would shock all of Europe. Nobody has ever proven a connection, but nobody's ever ruled one out either. For 30 years, she's been called a runaway, an assassin, a spy who slipped too far into her own cover story. The truth is, nobody knows which version is real. Maybe none of them are. In 1996, with no name to put on a headstone, the city of Oslo buried her. No funeral, no mourners. A simple coffin in a pauper's grave carried by men who'd never known her name either. Her belongings are sold off. Her clothes destroyed along with most of the evidence. Routine procedure for a case that was supposed to be closed. It wasn't closed. It just went quiet. 20 years later, in 2016, investigators dug her back up. They took samples from her teeth, ran tests that didn't exist in 1995, isotope analysis, mitochondrial DNA, the kind of science that can trace a person's childhood through the chemistry locked inside a single bone. The results came back. She probably grew up in Germany. She was likely born around 1971, which would have made her 24 years old. Not 21 like she told the front desk. Not 30, like the first doctors guessed. It was the most anyone had learned about her in 2 decades, and it still wasn't a name. Somewhere out there, maybe, is a family that spent 30 years wondering what happened to a daughter, a sister, a friend who simply stopped calling. They may not even know to look in Norway.
They may not know to look for a woman named
Jennifer Fairgate,
because that
name was never hers to begin with. She spent her last hours doing something most people never have to do, disappearing on purpose. Cutting every label, filing off every number, leaving nothing behind that could ever lead back to her. Whatever she was running from, she made sure it could never find her again. The problem is, neither can anyone else. She is still in that grave in Oslo, still unidentified, still waiting for someone somewhere to recognize a face that's been a mystery for 30 years. The door was locked from the inside. But the bigger question was never how she died in that room. It's who she was before she ever checked in.